Good morning, Hope Church. Hope you're all well and enjoying slowly easing out of lockdown. I know John and I have enjoyed being able to work together again a little bit, appropriately socially distanced. Now, today's talk comes with an apology to Shona, who, with care and diligence in advance, prepared the kids' work for this week. And on the very day it's been handed out, I was having a conversation with Mark about changing the topic. So my apologies, Shona. As a result, the kids are looking at Jonah today, and we're looking at Joshua. Now, this is part of the series we've just started, looking at characters who have also been through some kind of lockdown of their own and come out of it again. And in this case, we're looking at Joshua and the Israelites as they come out of the wilderness, which they've been in for 40 years. Now, they're there because essentially they're the previous generation. When they were given the opportunity to go in and conquer the promised land, they responded with fear and without faith to God. They didn't believe that he could take them through it. They looked at the people there, they looked at the fortresses there, and just thought it was too big a task, despite all that God had done for them. And his judgment on them was that they were then to die in the desert, in the wilderness. That God would do it with the next generation. And now this is the time, it's happening. The old generation's passed away, the new generation's coming in, with just two exceptions, Caleb and Joshua. And Joshua now is 80 years old. He's now just taking on the leadership of the Israelite people. So, however old you are, just bear in mind that God may call you still to anything, no matter how big. Don't let age be a factor in your eyes, because it won't be in God's. And it's not like Joshua was unique. Moses was actually exactly the same age when he took on the leadership of the Israelites as well. So it's not unheard of at all. Now, as part of their starting off and getting into the promised land, God reminded them of his power, and he gives them a little callback to their time coming out of Egypt when he parted the Red Sea, and then this time he parts the Jordan for them as they cross over. And so they're there now. They've had this great miracle from God again, pointing back to the even bigger one of parting the Red Sea, and they're finally able to eat the fruits of the land. They get reconsecrated to God, and they're ready and raring to go. And standing before them is this huge fortified city, Jericho. And it's here that they will learn one of their first and vital lessons about walking with God. Now, according to archaeologists, Jericho is one of the earliest cities ever built, and certainly the earliest one with such walls. It's one of these cities that's been built and rebuilt over the ages, each one being built over the crumbled ruins of the previous one. So it's got higher and higher onto this bigger mound over time. By the time Joshua comes along, it's already been rebuilt several times over. Now, Jericho actually had two sets of walls. The outer wall is thought to have been around 6 feet thick, slightly taller than me, and then the inner wall twice this. Now, as is the typical problem for this type of city, as the population grew, they had to work out how they're going to fit everyone in, where they're going to live. Now, some theories go that they simply started putting houses in between the two walls, but another theory goes, and this does seem to fit quite nicely with Rahab's house being part of the wall, that they spanned the distance in between the two walls up high and built houses on top of that. And so the new houses got incorporated into the walls on top. Now Joshua decides to go and have an inspection of the task before them, and goes to inspect these great walls of Jericho. And whilst he's doing this, he comes across another man and asks, "Are you for us or against us?" And I love the response, which is simply, "No. But I am the commander of the Lord's army. Now I've come." And in this we both got a bit of encouragement and a mild rebuke to Joshua. It's kind of putting him in his place and saying that you're not the top dog around here. You are not the one fully in charge. You're still a servant of the Lord. But now the Lord's armies have come. So it's also an encouragement that no, God is with you in this. And God speaks to him. Now Jericho was shut up inside and outside because of the people of Israel. None went out and none came in. And the Lord said to Joshua, See, I have given Jericho into your hand, with its king and mighty men of valour. You shall march around the city, all the men of war going around the city once. Thus you shall do for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. And when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, when you hear the sound of the trumpet, then all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, everyone straight before him. So I can imagine their response to this, great, so off then. Well, yes, but step by step. God said, I've given Jericho into your hands. So come on and walk with me. And around they go. Once a day for 6 days, walking around in utter silence apart from the priests who blow on these ram's horns. Day 7, again, walking around 6 times in utter silence with the priests blowing on the ram's horns. But not a sound from anyone else. And then finally a 7th time. And everyone shouts and the walls come crumbling down. But to get to that stage, they had to be patient. They had to go for that patient daily walk with God, step after faithful step. And I sometimes wonder if we misrepresent the story when we talk about it, talk about them feeling silly or stupid, which they might have done. I certainly don't think those in Jericho saw it as a silly or stupid thing. This was just a slightly different form of siege. And we already know that they're afraid. We know from the spies that went in that Jericho was afraid of the Israelites coming. And seeing them walk around their city in this way is, if anything, it's probably going to feel like a bit of a tease, surely. What are they up to? What are they going to do? And on the part of the Israelites, there must have been such a desire to just push forwards and run in and attack. But they kept to God's guidance, and step after faithful step, they walked around until finally the walls fall down. What's that phrase? It's Geronimo! But that's not what God wanted for them, not straight away. And we have to be careful with this, don't we? We see things that we know God has put on our hearts, and it's there for the taking, but is it God's timing yet? Our walk with God is so often just that, a walk. It's about those daily steps, one after the other. And we've got to hold back from pushing in, from surging forwards until He does. When we see God surge forwards, then that's our chance to as well. But until He does, it's step after faithful step, those smaller things. If we go ahead of God, it's not going to go well. If we move when He moves, it's going to go brilliantly. And there's another thing to take out of this as well, and that we know that without God, we can't. We know that we need His power to achieve so much in life. But we also need to remember that without us, God won't. He can, but He won't. So, do you want to see God do something awesome? I know I do. So don't listen to that phrase, let go and let God, because as a rule, that's not really the biblical example. It's step forwards and let God. So when Jesus challenged the disciples to feed those thousands of people that were there, it wasn't just stand back and let God do it. No, it's what do you have? What have you got? Step forwards, and then God works with that. And so much of the time it's a much longer process. You may see needs or injustices, and You know that God's put on your heart to try and do something about it, but what can I do? Well, you start with what you've got. Daily, step by faithful step. Maybe there's sin in your life that you think, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. This has been such a pain to me for so long. I'm so entangled. How am I going to break free of this? And again, it will be step by faithful step. And you start being faithful in those little things, in the smaller battles. God's going to give you the big battle. He's going to break through. He's going to make those walls fall down. But it's going to start with that daily walk with God, waiting for His timing till He brings about the big victory. So, remember, it's the daily steps that's the important thing. And remembering that, although, yes, without God we can't, more often than not, without us, God won't. He wants us to take those steps forwards for His sake, for His name's sake. And so, coming out of lockdown, and I'd suggest for as frequently as you remember to do, ask God questions. Ask Him, who do you want me to love for you today? What is it that you want me to focus on? What can I do to bring about your kingdom more and more in this world? How can I be a part of that? We can spend so much time asking God for things, please provide this, that and the other, and even so much time praising God, and both things are good and right and proper. But I've been challenged more and more recently that how often am I asking God questions and then in turn expecting to hear an answer? Ask God questions. Ask Him what your next faithful step should be, what you should be focusing on. Maybe it is that sin that has entangled you for so long. Maybe God is speaking to you even today that, come on, it's time. We're going to deal with this now. Daily, step by faithful step. Maybe He's been pinpointing to you a need in your neighbourhood or further afield that's really struck your heart, and you'd like to do something about it, but you're just not sure where to start. Again, ask Him. And the answer is probably going to be something along the lines of a small but faithful step. You start with what you've got and trust that He's going to do something amazing with that. We want to see God do the big things. Let's work them first in the little things every day and trust that in time we'll see our own Jerichos. God bless you all.